Everyone, and welcome to Monday. Jim and Amadeus here with you, and we had a fun weekend. And Amadeus, what were some of the highlights for you on this past weekend in both college and pro football?
Yeah, definitely another wild weekend. Probably the big highlight for me was seeing our Washington get through the Corvallis and come away with the win there. That was my Pac-12 game of the year,
Uh
so
huh.
happy about that. The NFL Sunday, the Sunday slate wasn't too great. I
Right.
lost my NFC North game of the month with the Lions, who decided to wait till the last 2 minutes of the game to show up and
Right.
win it. But I did cash the NFC West game of the month with the Rams, which I got very lucky on the missed field goal by Seattle. But that's just how the script goes.
That's right. Can't always be that way. We've got in college football rankings. Georgia number one, Ohio State number two, Michigan number three, Washington jumps Florida State, who lost Jordan Travis, their quarterback, for the rest of the season, and that is an interesting situation. So here's the deal: we have Michigan and Ohio State this week playing each other. Georgia's at Georgia Tech. Washington is taking on Washington State. That'll be the last Apple Cup that will be played for a while. So, the good news for Washington, it's in Seattle, so that's a good situation there. So they're headed for the playoffs, the championship game in Las Vegas for the Pac-12, the final Pac-12 championship game against Oregon, who once again looked really strong this past weekend. Oregon gets Oregon State. That one again. This time it's nobody has to go to Corvallis. This time they got to go over and play that game in Eugene. So that's Oregon gets them at home. So there you go. It's matching up. So we've got we'll know whether it's Michigan or Ohio State this week in the game at the Big House in Ann Arbor. How that works out. So there's going to be some interesting situations. Florida State plays the Gators, who lost on a last-second field goal to Missouri the other night. And if Florida State without Jordan Travis can get by the Gators, then they have that championship game. Well, they're going to have the championship game regardless, but they have the championship game against Louisville in Charlotte the first weekend in December. So it'll be some interesting games here.
Yeah, definitely. And I got to say, Jim, you nailed your Florida Gators at the beginning of the season. You said they were going to be about 5 to 7 wins, and sure
Yeah.
enough, here we are, 5-6, last game of the season. This is the bowl eligibility right here.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I mean, fortunate for them. Obviously, Jordan Travis is going to be out, but then again, Graham Mertz is banged up for them as well. So
Yep.
it's the battle of the backups here for this Florida State Florida game.
Whew. Yeah. And of course, FSU's got two kids that they think very highly of as possible, heir apparents to, Jordan, and we'll see. I mean, it's quite possible that the heir apparent could end up being someone who shows up at the in the last couple games of the season and plays well. We'll see. They do have a running game at Florida State, which is pretty good, and defensively, I mean, they've got enough to beat Florida. I believe they've got enough to beat Louisville as well. The problem would be if they were to lose to Louisville. I've got a conspiracy theory here. Okay, let me run it by you, see what you think. All right, Michigan beats Ohio State. All right.
Not much of a conspiracy theory there.
No, but it's close. Okay, it's close.
Yeah.
Alabama, Georgia, close championship game of the SEC. Okay. Florida State loses. Doesn't matter what it is. 1 point or 100 points doesn't matter. To Louisville, and Oregon, which I think we both can say I feel comfortable that Oregon could beat Washington, if not, you know, I think Oregon could beat Washington. I think it may be a close
Yeah.
game, but I still think they could do it. All right, that Georgia, Alabama, Michigan, Ohio State,
Sorry, you cut out on that last part there.
and they shut everybody else out. Oh, I'm sorry. Let me try that again. I say if that scenario happens, okay, where Georgia, so basically they're all one-loss teams, okay, that it's Georgia, Alabama, Michigan, Ohio State is your
Well,
Final Four.
then it's not even worth it to watch the college football playoffs this year.
I'm just
That's
saying.
the way it's going to pan out.
I'm just saying I have this ugly feeling that is how, if everybody has if it's a one-loss thing, everybody that I'm talking to is going like, boy, Alabama's really playing well. Maybe they're the best team in college football at this point in time. And I'm thinking, all right, here we go. This is what I like to call the Paul Feinbaum effect. When he goes full homer on Alabama, and Greg Sankey's on the committee, or it's gonna be, and he's the commissioner of the SEC. I see conspiracies everywhere when it comes to that situation. So I don't know. To me, that would be horrible. But I don't know. I want to see Oregon in that Final Four. I do.
Yeah, I think if the college football playoff in any scenario comes away with two SEC teams
Right.
and two Big Ten teams this year, I
Right.
think it's the perfect example of the failure of the system. Why we need to get away
Right.
from that next year. And I think it's personally, it'll just be a write-off of a college football season because it won't be the true playoffs. You won't have the true best teams in there.
Right. And I think that it'll be the four best rating situations. But I honestly think that people. I mean, I've watched, I think, all the Oregon games. I might have missed some, but at least I watched bits of them all. Washington, Michigan. I've seen everybody here, and I gotta say, I mean, to me, the best team from day one. We've always said it was Washington, Oregon. Oregon's kind of pulled ahead for me on this because their defense is playing well, and and not saying that Washington's not good. It's just that they don't have the defense that Oregon has at this point.
Yeah, I would totally agree with that. Now, if Washington ends up beating Oregon in the Pac-12
Yeah,
championship
wouldn't be surprised.
and beats
Yeah.
them twice this year, then
Yeah.
I think obviously you have to say Washington's the better team.
Mhm.
But yeah, at this point, I mean, Washington only won a close game at home. Oregon, they look like they've just been on a tear ever since losing that game, and they were basically, they had that FU factor we talked about
Mhm.
last week. In
Very
their
technical,
game over the
yes.
weekend. They heard Brian Kelly say, I got the best quarterback in the country, and all of a sudden Bo Nix had something to say about that. So
Right.
yeah, definitely. This Oregon team, but we pegged it from the beginning of the season. We did
Mhm.
say the Pac-12 has the best team in the
Yeah.
in the country, and whether you want to call it Washington or Oregon, there has to be a Pac-12 team in the no matter how it shakes out. I think there has to be one in the college football playoffs.
I
Oregon
agree.
Just totally missed out on the best conference in football.
Yeah. I mean, 100%. And just speaking for something that came out this morning, which I thought was interesting, and that is he has applied and received the temporary permission, meaning he's just waiting for the official to come in. Cam Rising is going to be allowed to come back and play at the University of Utah for a 7th season.
Yeah, because he didn't play this year, so they ended up
Right.
redshirting him, I guess. So
Well, yeah, it's a medical red shirt, and because he's a graduate, okay, he's graduated from Utah, University of Utah. He's allowed to, because of the COVID year, he's allowed another season, which will give him seventh. So I think he'll be, once he gets into the pros, he'll probably be about 37 or something like that. I think something in that neighborhood. No, I mean, I'm happy for Cam. I mean, he's a good kid and a good quarterback. The idea that he's coming back to Utah, I think, is probably wise, because the NFL has no idea, you know, what he would be like playing in the league, and so it's quite possible he would be like a fourth or a fifth or even a sixth round draft choice. So I think that he's doing it for draft stock. It's also a dangerous situation, you know, with regard to injury and all that could happen. But then again, he's got NIL money, which understandably is, I think, Cam's NIL money's right around $1.5 million a year. So it's not like he's, you know, not getting some cash in this deal. So it'll be interesting.
Yeah, definitely. I never thought it was much of a surprise that he was going to come back. I think as we went on throughout the season,
Mm-hmm.
the longer, you know, week after week, it was, is he going to play? Is he going to, oh, he's not going to play. He's not going to play.
Yeah.
That thought started to creep up into my mind that, you know, they're probably just going to redshirt him this year and let him come back for one more season. Because even what was the point if they already had that one loss in Oregon State, you know what I mean? And you're 7 games into the season, like, why have them play at all this year? So, yeah, I think definitely, and especially with the team they have at Utah, you know, they could have been one to challenge Oregon and Washington if they had the quarterback play this year. So, we'll see how that pans out for them next year, obviously.
Yeah, and I think that they've got the kind of team and the coaching. Remember, it's not going to be, they don't have to worry about the depth of the Pac-12 anymore. They're going to go into a Big 12, which, you know, has a lot of mediocre football teams in it. And, you know, because Texas and Oklahoma is heading on out, you know, for the SEC, so that leaves them with, to me, a very watered down Big 12, which, you know, they certainly can step in and be a contender. And I think, you know, I don't know about you, I'll give you a shot on this. I think the biggest team that they're going to have to beat in that conference is another one of the 4 corner schools that came in, and that's Arizona.
Yeah, definitely. Arizona, obviously, we've talked a lot about how Jed Fish has turned this program around, and now we're at that point where they're showing the results finally.
Yeah.
So, yeah, you can only imagine what they're going to be next year and in the years to come with Jed Fish as the coach. So, definitely, I'm with you. I think Utah and Arizona, just with the defense alone, they're going to dominate the Big 12. I would say you could even leave Oklahoma and Texas in the conference. They would stand a chance against these Pac-12 teams.
Yeah, I mean, they've got the defense, they've got the depth, and they're bringing in good recruiting classes. And speaking of breeding recruiting classes, you know, Colorado lost again, and doesn't look like they're going to a bowl. And it was one of those things where Dion, you know, basically set up, and he said, you know, this is some of the toughest things going on in my entire football career. He says, you know, things are not going the way we had hoped. His son, you know, gets bounced from the game injured. I believe he's probably going to be back this week, but we'll see. But now, you know, life catches up with you, and that's what happened with Dion in Colorado.
Well, it's funny, right? Because when he took the job, the Pac-12 was arguably, you know, one of the weaker conferences at the time.
At least really, they thought, yeah.
Yeah, it was just really, you know, maybe Washington and maybe Oregon with what they have would be good this year. And then all of a sudden, the conference just flipped on its head in its last year, and every team seemed to be good. So, yeah, I think they weren't helped by the strength of the Pac-12 this year.
Right.
If you look, right, they're 4-7, but they're 1-7 in Pac-12 games. So obviously that was a big killer for them. But they might have an easier time. They're going to the Big 12 next year, right? Yeah. So they could definitely have an easier time with some of the defenses in the Big 12. I think that they'll probably win a few more games with that offense for sure.
Yeah, and you think too. The other part of it is that the you know with Dion, he understands he needs to go and out and get himself a they gotta get defense, and so I think that's going to be a key. And we talked about Warren Sapp maybe coming on board in that whole routine. So it's going to be an interesting off season for Colorado. But then again, we talked about it too. Arizona, um, they're going to do some recruiting. I think Arizona State's going to be better. Um, from that standpoint. So you've got the new four schools that are coming in. Is Kansas going to be better? Probably. Kansas State, perhaps, no question. TCU, you know, maybe. We'll see. We have no idea what is going to go on over at Baylor or Houston or Florida, Central Florida, or any of those schools. But I just think that the, those Utah and Arizona, Arizona State and Colorado, the four teams coming over from the pack, to me, they're head and shoulders above what's in the pack, what's in the Big 12 right now.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with that. I think any one of those teams could probably dominate the Big 12 when they come in,
Hmm.
especially Utah and Arizona next year.
I'll tell you, keep an eye out for BYU. I think that's going to be the one thing that I think, and it's not something necessarily that Utah was looking forward to, um, but it's going to happen now every year, and that's the Holy War. And that you want to talk about a rivalry? My goodness, one of the probably the top five rivalries in college football is BYU and Utah, and they haven't played in a while, and now they're going to play every year. So that's one of those rivalries where it's personal and it's going to get really interesting. So
Yeah,
those two
especially
teams
for
play.
BYU, right? Because Utah was
Sure.
the one that didn't want to schedule this
Yep.
for
Didn't
so
want to
many
play them.
years.
Didn't care.
So
Yep.
So yeah, it's definitely going to be interesting. As long I think BYU is going to be a lot better next year.
Me too.
As long
Yeah.
as they don't have the curse of Keaton Slovis. If they can get rid of the curse of Keaton Slovis, because it seems
Right.
like everywhere he's gone, the team just turns out to be a lot worse than what they're supposed to be.
Right.
So
Right.
maybe there's a key piece in there on why these teams keep underperforming. Gee, who keeps hopping in the portal, going from team to team, doing
Right.
that. But yeah, I think if they get rid of Slovis and maybe fix some of the defensive issues, BYU has the potential to be a really good team.
Well, surprisingly too, BYU has always had good quarterbacks. I mean, they came out and really showed up big. So, I don't know. We'll see. But
Well, I think a
uh,
lot of it's an age thing, right? They get
yeah,
a lot of older players on the
right.
team
Well,
for sure.
their kids have to do missionary work, and some of them choose to go directly out of college and then come back and play sports. And so, yeah, they're older than the normal college kids who are playing. So they're more mature and they have a better ability to handle wins and losses. But it's definitely an interesting situation. One last thing in the college things, not for nothing category. Um, good on UNLV. They went to 8-2. They went over to Colorado Springs and beat Air Force at Air Force. So a team that last year won just two games is 8-2 this season. They've had some. It's been a turnaround season for UNLV, and they look like they're headed for a Mountain West championship.
Oh yeah, I think at this point they definitely will be in the Mountain West Championship. It's been crazy the year they've had. They were not supposed to be good,
Yeah.
and they came out and they brought that FU factor to everybody.
Yep. Well, they beat two teams that I thought were better than them by a long shot. They went to Wyoming and beat Wyoming in Casper, and then they went to Colorado Springs and beat the Air Force Academy.
Yeah,
So
definitely some good wins.
That's it's one thing to beat them. It's another thing to go to their place and beat them. So there
Yeah.
you go. Hey, guess what? Yesterday, your Lions beat the Bears. Oh my! But it came it came late.
Yeah, it's disappointing, Jim, especially with that safety at the
Yeah.
end. Like if the Lion player just finds a way to jump on it instead
Right.
of getting the other guy to kick it out of the end zone, we could be looking at a cover here. We could have a nice 10-point win instead of a 5 win. So yeah, that was a little disappointing for sure.
I thought, and obviously I'm wrong. I thought if you kicked the ball out of the end zone, that the other team got it at the 2 yard line.
Yeah, so it is a spot foul, but I think what
Yeah.
happened is he didn't deliberately kick it. He was kind of running and doing that thing where like you're running and you try to pick it
All
up.
right. Yeah. Okay.
You kick
Fine.
it by accident because it was on the 2 yard line. Like he
Right.
didn't have to kick it for a safety. You know what I mean? He
Right.
could have
Yeah.
just jumped on it and given the ball away and not
Right.
give up the points. But yeah, so I think they took that into account. Like, why would he kick it from the 2 yard line? It was obviously he was running. Just we're that close, Jim. We were that close, despite Goff's whatever 12 interceptions he threw
Yeah.
yesterday. The fact that they still even won the game is amazing. But yeah, they
Well,
were
he
that
shook
close.
himself out of it down the stretch there and got that touchdown. So that was a good thing.
Yeah, it just goes to show you how good the Lions are. And same with the Dolphins. They dominated the
Yeah.
Raiders and they lost the turnover margin by what, like 4?
Yeah. And and they got a couple guys hurt, which didn't help.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was definitely their speed helped them yesterday immensely. We'll have to see how Tyreek Hill is because he got banged up in the game. But boy, there was that one. There's a slant pass that Tua hit him in stride, and it was like it was like the Roadrunner and Wile E. Coyote. I mean, it was like he took that ball and nobody. It was like there he is, and now he's gone. It's like little dust behind him as he went flying past everybody on that little. It was I don't know. It was like a 30-yard slant. He hit him and
Yeah.
he hit him at absolute total high speed. It's like, hello, here we go.
Yeah, I saw that. It looked like 3 guys were gonna enclose on him, and he
Yeah.
just turns the jets on, and you're like, "How the hell did he make it out of there?" It's like when in the movies when the walls are closing in.
Right, right. It's like it's done.
It
So
can be done in person, Jim. It can. The movies don't lie.
that's right. Just
Okay,
hello.
Tyreek Hill is the perfect example.
You got Tyreek Hill. You got Waddle. I mean, you got a 4x100 track team there.
Literally a track team.
Yeah, and it is what it is. It's a good one. Packers get a win yesterday in a game that they shouldn't have. 23-20. It
Did
was.
you see that drop by the Chargers receiver?
Oh,
That was the game-winning touchdown, right?
Yes,
there.
it
That
was.
another one I was on, the Chargers, and that one killed me. And again, it's like a comedy of errors. You got it hits off his hand, and then he's running, and it hits off his knee and bounces forward. Like I couldn't believe it, Jim. Couldn't.
and Herbert. I mean, Herbert put the ball right on. I mean, you couldn't have thrown it better. You
Yeah,
couldn't
you
have
gotta catch
handed it to him better, and he didn't
Yeah.
get it.
Yeah, you got to catch that ball.
Oh man, that was crazy. Browns beat the Steelers in a game. DTR comes off the bench and I mean we said it was going to be ugly. We said it was going to be close. And DTR gets them down to gets the Browns down to a position where they could go for the field goal in a reasonable place on the field. I think it was like a 40 yard field goal. It was 13-10. It was ugly, but it was ugly in Cleveland. The Browns won the game in the dog pound, and now they're staying just one game out of the race with the Ravens, and with Joe Burrow's hurt. You got to think the Brownies and the Steelers are probably the only 2 teams out there that have legit shots at making giving Baltimore any challenge in the race. A lot of quarterbacks are banged up.
Yeah, it's weird because the Browns are 7-3, but despite their record, I don't look at them like a real
Mm-hmm.
contender because they're an incomplete team. Yeah, they
Yeah.
have one of the best defenses in the NFL, but the offense is a big problem, and that personally, to me, I don't see them going at far. And if I
Mm-hmm.
do, they're like the Jaguars a few years ago with Blake
Right.
Bortles when they had the best defense in the
Sure.
NFL, but couldn't do anything offensively. And that'll be the Browns' fate if they somehow get to 12-5 this year or whatever and get into the wild card. Their offense will shoot themselves in the foot.
Speaking of that, your Cardinals lost to the Texans, but it wasn't because of Kyler Murray. He did everything he could, but you know, for some reason the Cardinals defense just couldn't stop, Houston
Yeah, I mean they covered the
when
spread.
they had to, I should say.
Yeah, they I don't know. The Cardinals, they have other issues, right? They're
Mm-hmm.
not a good team. Like I said, every time they draft a good player, they end up trading them away. Like their
Mm-hmm.
roster doesn't have a ton of talent. It's like Kyler Murray, James Conner, and Buda Baker. That's like the whole team
Right.
right there. So yeah, a lot of
Well,
work to be done for them.
yeah, the 49ers beat the Buccaneers, and here's the sad part of that, because our official quarterback of the show, Baker Mayfield, had 3 touchdown passes dropped, and you're like, are you kidding me? I mean, and one of them was Mike Evans. I mean, he didn't drop anything, and he just flat whiffed on a ball. So, you can. They lost to the Rams 27-14, but you can't blame Baker for it.
Yeah, it's funny because it feels like that's been the issue in their last 3 games now. The
Mm-hmm.
offense has been playing much better, scoring a lot more
Right.
points, but they're still losing games. And it's not Baker Mayfield's it's not his fault. It's
Mm-hmm.
the wide receivers. They've been dropping balls obviously against the 49ers, but they did the
Yeah.
same thing last week
Yeah, they did.
and the week before. And luckily they were able to beat the Titans at home,
Yeah.
but it killed them the week before against the Texans in that
Yep.
39-37 game.
Yeah. And you're sitting there going, "This is just nuts." But it is what it is. You've got the the other game. I mean, that was one of these ones where you're sitting there going, last team who has it, and it was an ugly game. The Rams beat the Seahawks in a game where they shouldn't have, but they did.
Yeah, I was on the Rams. Like I said earlier, that was my NFC
Mm-hmm.
West game of the month. And honestly, Jim, you know what? The Seahawks are still undefeated against a Matthew Stafford led Rams. The only 2 times they have beaten them with Matthew Stafford on
Right.
the roster were last year. And
Mm-hmm.
both of those games, the starting quarterbacks were John Wolford and Baker Mayfield. So
Mm-hmm.
can't beat Stafford when he's playing for the Rams. The Seahawks
Right.
just can't beat him.
Well, there you go. Um, we talked a little bit about Buffalo needing to assert themselves if they're going to keep the drive alive for a potential, playoff role, and they did that. 32-6. It was it's going to sound silly. It was a slow 32-6. They really, they didn't jump on the Rams. I'm sorry, on the Jets quickly. It was kind of like lingering death there with with that game. It wasn't a fun game to watch because it was so erratic.
It's weird to say, but they didn't look good. Like
Yeah, I know.
you look at the score and you're like, oh, 32-6 or whatever, but
Yeah.
they didn't look good in the game. And as you said, why it was so slow is because it was a lot of field goals. That was a
Mm-hmm.
game they probably should have scored over 40 points in,
Yeah.
and they didn't do it. And they were at home against, now Zach Wilson, who's going to be benched for Tim Boyle next week. So what does that tell you about the Jets offense?
It tells you that they're in deep, deep trouble.
And now you're getting reports about Rodgers coming back just the 2nd of December.
I hear what they're saying, but man, I don't want to see him back. If I'm the Jets, I'm like, dude, just you know what, we're good. Just go ahead, hang out there.
Take the year off. We'll get
Yeah, just
Devontae in the
no.
off season, and we'll give it another shot next year. We'll
Right.
change the turf too.
We'll get that all taken care of. We got your back here, buddy. Just go over there. And by the way, we'll go out and grab ourselves a one of these, young gun quarterbacks to kind of sit there back there and learn from you. So don't do anything.
That
Then
might be the move for them.
yeah, yeah. Uh, Last night, the game, the late game on NBC, the Broncos come from behind and win that game over the Vikings, and 21-20. There was, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, the most home teams this season won games yesterday. So far, well, not just yesterday. So you factor all that into it, and the home team was the team that ended up being winners over the weekend. Tonight we got a good one. We got the Eagles at the Chiefs, and it's going to be you've said that this Chiefs team is not that it's good, but it's not as good as the Chiefs teams in the past, and we'll find out. The Eagles come to town, and this is going to be a very interesting, should be a very interesting game.
Yeah, I definitely don't think the Chiefs are as good as they were last year or
Mm-hmm.
have been in past years, but I still think they're a very good team with one of the better defenses in the league. And frankly, I don't think the Eagles are as good as their record suggests.
Right.
They've played a lot of weak teams and struggled to get by these weak
Mm-hmm.
teams in the first half of the schedule. Now they're about to go through the gauntlet over the next month, and we're going to find out a lot
Mm-hmm.
about this Eagles team. So definitely going to be a good game to watch. But honestly, Jim, I woke up this morning and I almost had to delete FanDuel because I wake up and what was the first boost they were offering? Right, like front and center. Yeah, you had to see it basically. I wasn't even looking for boosts, and it was right there in my face. Oh, why don't you place a bet on the Kansas City Chiefs to win the Super Bowl and Taylor Swift to win Best Album Cover at the Grammys?
That's the you know what? The back half of that one, I think, is pretty.
I was gonna say
that's pretty much a safe bet. Okay, that's there aren't anything in this world like total locks, but that's pretty damn close. Taylor Swift winning. Did you say best album, like
Best
a Grammy?
Album Cover.
Oh, best album cover. Okay, all right.
Yeah, like specifically the cover. But
Okay, all right.
That's what FanDuel was offering this morning. I didn't take it because I don't think the Chiefs are winning the Super Bowl.
Right. The
And
Taylor
I'm not
Swift
betting
part.
on anything Taylor Swift related. Absolutely
Right.
not.
Right. Don't bet against her. But yeah, I mean, she's not playing tight end, so I don't think that's a issue from that standpoint. So yeah, that's a very interesting very interesting bet to be sure. We've got some games, by the way, which we'll get to later in the week, but we got 3 Thursday. So we got 4 games before Sunday, which is a rarity. It only happens. It's never happened until this particular season, because this is the first season that we're getting a Black Friday game, which of course is the Jets and the Dolphins, which will be played at the Meadowlands at Friday afternoon at 3:30. So that's the game that we got going there. The Lions host the Packers. That's the 12:30 game in Detroit, and of course they're all division games here. It's the Packers facing the Lions. The Commanders and the Cowboys get together for the middle game on Thanksgiving Day, and then
beat down.
yeah, and then the nightcap is the 49ers Seahawks game. That game being played in Seattle, and then of course Friday we'll talk about this as well. The Dolphins head up to the Meadowlands for that that Black Friday game against the Jets. So there's plenty of good games to be had prior to Sunday afternoon. So that's what we got going. So over the weekend, anything going on in soccer?
Not really. It's just these Euro qualifiers are finishing up pretty much. Half the teams have already been eliminated. The few handful were fighting for spots. Some were already clinched. So yeah, not much going on. I think it wraps up either today or tomorrow, and then we'll be back to normal leagues on the weekend.
Okay, Jerry wants to know who we believe will be the conference winners in each conference in college football. Um, all right, you want to go first? I'll go. Well, I don't care. Whatever you want to do.
Yeah, I'll go first. I guess we'll do. So the ACC, I'm
Yep.
gonna go with Florida State still,
Mm-hmm.
even though
But you
Louisville's been
scouted
good.
them. Yeah. So.
Yeah, Louisville's been good, but I think there's enough talent on Florida State to get by that game.
Mm-hmm.
The Big 12 champion, I guess Texas. I don't like it, but I don't know who's gonna stop them at this point. Um, let's see. The Big Ten, I think it's going to be Michigan. The Pac-12, I think, will be Oregon, and the SEC, I'm going to take Georgia still.
Yeah, I think I'm not gonna. Let's see. I'll go FSU in the ACC. I'll go. Um, I, I, I'm trying to think who's gonna play Texas.
That's the other thing, right? Like, isn't there
Yeah,
like a huge tie with a bunch of teams with 2 losses?
yeah. I don't know who's gonna play. I'll say Texas because I don't know who they're gonna play. If it's I just think that Texas wants to get out of the conference, on an up note, and we'll see. But yeah, that's the Big 12 is the one that probably is the most bizarre one for me, a little schizophrenic. I do like I follow your lead on Oregon. We've said these are the two best teams, and right now I think Oregon is the best team, so I'll take that one. Uh, I okay, I'll pick an upset. I'll take Alabama over Georgia in the championship game for the SEC. Um,
They're asking for 2 SEC teams.
no, no, no. I think that this is one of those years where Saban, you know, they were given up for dead halfway through the season, and all of a sudden things started to click for them. And it's really interesting. Kirby Smart, who for many years was his defensive coordinator at Alabama, has done such a magnificent job at Georgia that I think that there's really Saban is honing in on this and thinking, you know what? Every time that I played Kirby, Kirby has given me nothing but grief, and I'm tired of it. Let's just go out there and beat Kirby. So this is kind of personal for Saban. So I don't know why. I'll just go that way just to be opposite. And who am I forgetting? Um, let's see.
Um,
I got the ACC, got the
the
SEC, got
Big
the Big
Ten.
12. Oh, the Big 10. Okay, well, I'll go with Michigan. I'll go with
Yeah.
Michigan, the maize and blue.
I hope Jerry doesn't want the AAC and the group of five
Okay,
schools.
the AAC, I'll give you that one. I'll give you the AAC. The
Tulane.
AAC's Tulane.
Yeah.
I think Tulane will take that one. They probably there's SMU and UTSA that would be there as in the championship game against Tulane. But I think Tulane, what they learned last year, which got them a title and put them in a New Year's Six bowl, 100%. They've got they've got the team, they got the coach, they got the experience, which will be very important. So yeah, it'll be good from that standpoint. And then Mountain West, I think will be. I think we talked about it earlier. UNLV. They went on the road and beat Wyoming, and went on the road and beat you know, Air Force Academy. So I just don't see them. And the game, by the way, their title game is played in Vegas, so it would be a home game for them.
Who would they
So
be playing?
I don't know. Let me look it up real
Because,
quick.
yeah, I'm wondering. I guess it looks like it's either going to be Boise State, San Jose State, or Air Force, because those are the three teams with 2 conference losses. I don't know how they do the tiebreaker in the Mountain West, though.
Well, I mean, um, they beat Air Force, so let me look real quick here.
If it goes by overall record, it'll be Air Force for sure they play.
Fresno State is likely.
Really, they have 3 conference losses.
Yeah, but I think it's the East West. I don't know how UNLV would be in the East, but let me.
They still have the Mountain and the West divisions. I thought they got rid
Hang
of
on, I'm looking right now. It says that Fresno State had control of Destiny back, getting back to the championship, defending title, blah blah blah. Season, New Mexico. Pum 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 pum. All right, so if they beat New Mexico and San Diego State, then they the title game. But I'm still waiting to see who they play. Okay. So Air Force is 5-1, UNLV's 5-1, Fresno is 4-2, Boise is 4-2, San Jose is 4-2. Air Force, we already know what happened. They beat UNLV. I'm sorry, they lost to UNLV, so they have to play. UNLV takes on San Jose State to end the season, which should be not a trouble because San Jose State's terrible. Fresno takes on New Mexico and San Diego State. Boise has Utah State, which they beat, and Air Force. So Boise has to play Air Force. So that's not good for them. Fresno State has to win out. Air Force would have to lose their 2 remaining games. That's not going to happen. So Air Force is likely to be. It's probably looks like a UNLV Air Force rematch.
There you go.
So if Fresno State wins out and Air Force loses out, then Fresno State. And that, by the way, I said that the championship game was in Vegas, and they changed that. So it's the team. Fresno State. In that case, Fresno State would host UNLV because of Fresno State beat UNLV early in the season. So that would be that. So bum bum. So that's how that works. So so that's where it would be. So it's either going to be Fresno and UNLV or UNLV in a rematch with Air Force. I like UNLV either way, so it doesn't really matter. But that's how that's working.
I'll take Fresno to be different. I like Fresno State.
Yeah, that would be. Well, like I mean, Fresno, um, they beat UNLV once, so that's a good thing. And the game would be at Fresno. So there you go. In the home of where the most avocados are grown in the country. So if you're not an avocado fan, you want to go to Fresno. There you go. So there you go. That's what I can tell you. Jerry, I'm not sure that I would take it to the bank, my friend, but that's where we are on those. I have no idea who's even in the Sun Belt Conference or any of the
Oh,
other.
it's gonna be Troy. I can tell you that right now.
Okay.
It'll be Troy will just win it. Doesn't matter who they're playing. James Madison can't be in it, so it's gonna be Troy. They'll win
Well,
whoever they have to play.
so they do college game day, right, at James Madison, and then they go out and lose to App State. It's like, what?
I know.
The one time you're getting highlighted and you spit the bit.
I think because they don't care now. Everything got
guess.
rejected. Like,
It's like it was and now it isn't. So there you go.
I mean, they could technically still play in a bowl game. They just have to hope there isn't enough 6-win teams to fill the slots.
Well, I mean, there's some pretty bad teams out there. So there's some. The thing that happened the past couple of years, and this is really because we have so many bowl games, is there have been a couple of teams that were 5-7 that got to the bowls because they used the academic rankings to get them there. So
Yeah, Rutgers, I think, got invited in the COVID year.
Yeah. So there's those. I wouldn't say that there's a lot. I think there's one or two every year that gets that little wrinkle in, and it's only because ESPN needs programming, and so they grab 2 5-7 teams. So I wouldn't be surprised that they meaning James Madison found themselves in a bowl game simply because of the the lack of 6-win college football teams.
Well, it is in the rules. They're eligible if there is not enough 6-win teams.
Well, there you go. They can hope for the Gators to lose this week against Florida State, and that'll take them off the board. So that'll be simple. So yeah, it's possible. It's definitely possible. So we'll see. Speaking of possible, if you possibly want to win some games today, then you should go and check out Mr. Amadeus' work in our show box below, and also he'll let you know where else to get them.
Yeah, you can find my premium plays at bigowl.com, pickadvisor.com, and theinsidersroom.com. Those links are in the description below. And yeah, go check out my premium plays. I got 2 NBA up today, 2 college basketball, and 1 for the Monday Night Football game, so you can check that out.
Oh, there you go. And anything you're seeing interesting so far in the in college basketball, even though it's not been going for very long?
James Madison's been interesting.
Really?
There's great in every sport apparently.
Yeah,
they're ranked 24th now in college basketball. So,
wow.
So they had that upset win in Michigan State, and they've definitely been a big surprise in college basketball for sure.
Well, and our favorite IUPUI just keeps doing what they do best, losing.
Yeah, they keep losing.
The world fades IUPUI. So
yeah. You said your friend bought a pool off IUPUI. So there you go.
That was Chris King. Basically said that you could send a kid to college on fading IUPUI. So there you go. If you, I'm not so sure that I want to go the entire season doing it, but the odds are they're going to win sometime. But maybe they wouldn't cover the spread on them win, so you never know.
Yeah.
But that's the way it goes. It's going to be interesting this week because, as we said before, it is holiday week here in the United States, and so there will be some games played on Thursday. There's going to be games played on Friday. There's going to be a lot of games, college and pro, that we're going to see this week that we normally wouldn't see. So, ton of stuff coming down the pike. So don't I think tomorrow's probably our only day when we don't have a lot of stuff going.
Yeah, and the NHL is actually off tomorrow, so there you go. That's your break
What?
day of the week. I know they're off Tuesday and Thursday, and they're the only league that's taken like days off this week. It's the weirdest thing.
What is it? It's a deal with the it's a deal with the Players Association where they
I
just take
guess.
random days off. What?
See, the NHL, they're not like the NBA and
Mhm.
some of the other professional leagues. They don't play on Christmas. They take those
Right,
days off, right? Like they don't play on certain holidays,
right.
Thanksgiving. So it's I guess it's just the way Bettman does things over there.
I don't know. I know that
Different different
yeah,
league.
John Miller, who was with the NFL, was brought on to the NHL as the chief content officer, and John's the guy who created the Hard Knocks series for HBO when he was with the NFL. And so the first thing he did when he came to the NHL was he created the um, New Year's Day outdoor game, and that was his. And then he changed. He also added to that the Stadium series. So there's some games being played. And I don't even know if they. I mean, that used to be a big day for hockey. It was one of the top, early season um, rated telecasts, and even that's gotten kind of sidelined over the years.
Yeah, it was a lot. It was a lot bigger when it was just the Winter Classic and the one
Yeah.
game they were doing it. By
Mhm.
adding the Stadium Series in, it's watered down the entire experience for fans,
Right.
and they don't want to tune in and watch them playing on like a baseball diamond
Hmm.
outside. It was nice when it was just the one game. So
Well, I remember when it was in Washington a few years back, and the big problem was not the keeping the ice from melting. It was the sun. The sun was beating at such a bad glare off the ice that the players couldn't play. They actually were playing with sunglasses on for a while, and then they realized that wasn't safe. So there was that. And the irony was that the the one that got the highest rating of the pack of the group of them was the one where it was the Capitals and the Penguins and playing in the stadium where you were in Pittsburgh, and it ended up it was supposed to start at 2 o'clock, and because of rain, it didn't start until the evening. So they ended up with a game in prime time, and the prime time game got the highest rating.
there you go.
So it turned out to be, they turned a luck out into a primetime game and realized that the primetime game worked. So it's they've had a lot of the Penguins in these in these classics. You
It's
know,
not the Penguins. It's just Crosby they want, right? It's
well
all
that's
about
true.
it's about the
Well,
names.
well, yeah, Jenny Malkin is not a bad, wasn't a bad name either. So
Yeah, but when they advertise, right, it's
it's
Crosby and
always Sydney.
Ovechkin.
Yeah, it's
It's
always
it's
Sid versus Ovi.
exactly.
I think that's gonna go down until these guys are in their rocking chairs on the front porch, trying to milk that rivalry for all it's worth. But I mean, both those guys have been in the league now for almost 12 or 13 years.
Pretty much. Yeah.
Yeah, so you gotta find yourself some new stars to market there, boys.
So he's not Sid the Kid anymore.
No, not at all. Not at all. So there you go. All right. Well, look, lots of good stuff to check out for Amadeus today. Check it out. We will be back tomorrow and start to set the table for a very, very, very busy sports week here. All right, everybody. Have a great day. And until tomorrow, we will see ya. For Amadeus, I'm Jim. Take care.